All right, guys, so you're going to go to your Study Sync assignment, which is A Wrinkle in Time, the first read. Make sure to log in using Clever Portal or through the Seven Hills website because unfortunately the link on the Google Classroom won't take you to the assignment. But anyway, I wanted to walk you through the assignment so that you could do this with me. If you feel comfortable doing it on your own, that's fine too. All right, so let's watch this intro. Some of us might have already read this book. I love this book. So if you have, you'll have some extra insight into what's happening.
A dark and stormy night. 14-year-old Meg Murray's father is missing. A mysterious neighbor leads Meg and her brother through the folds of the universe to find him. On the planet of Camazotz, Meg's brother falls under the control of a dark power called It. Read Madeline Alengle's science fiction classic of Good versus Evil, A Wrinkle in Time.
All right. So let's go to the reading portion. I'm going to turn on the audio and the highlights so you guys
Excerpt from Chapter 7, The Man with Red Eyes. Once 10 is 10, once 11 is 11, once 12 is 12. The number words pounded insistently against Meg's brain. They seemed to be boring their way into her skull. Twice 1 is 2, twice 2 is 4, twice 3 is 6. Calvin's voice came out in an angry shout. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Twice 4 is 8, twice 5 is 10, twice 6 is 12. Father! Meg screamed. Father! The scream, half involuntary, jerked her mind back out of darkness. The words of the multiplication table seemed to break up into laughter. Splendid, splendid! You have passed your preliminary tests with flying colors. You didn't think we were as easy as all that, falling for that old stuff, did you? Charles Wallace demanded. I hoped not. I most sincerely hoped not. But after all, you are very young and very impressionable, and the younger the better, my little man. The younger the better. Meg looked up at the fiery eyes, at the light pulsing above them, and then away. She tried looking at the mouth, at the thin, almost colorless lips, and this was more possible, even though she had to look obliquely, so that she was not sure exactly what the face really looked like, whether it was young or old, cruel or kind, human or alien. If you please, she said, trying to sound calm and brave, the only reason we are here is because we think our father is here. Can you tell us where to find him? Ah, your father. There seemed to be a great chortling of delight. Ah, yes, your father. It is not can I, you know, young lady, but will I? Will you then? That depends on a number of things. Why do you want your father? Didn't you ever have a father yourself? Meg demanded. You don't want him for a reason. You want him because he's your father. Ah, but he hasn't been acting very like a father lately, has he? Abandoning his wife and his 4 little children to go gallivanting off on wild adventures of his own. He was working for the government. He'd never have left us otherwise. And we want to see him, please. Right now. My, but the little miss is impatient. Patience, patience, young lady. Meg did not tell the man on the chair that patience was not one of her virtues. And by the way, my children, he continued blandly, you don't need to vocalize verbally with me, you know. I can understand you quite as well as you can understand me. Charles Wallace put his hands on his hips defiantly. The spoken word is one of the triumphs of man, he proclaimed, and I intend to continue using it, particularly with people I don't trust. But his voice was shaking. Charles Wallace, who even as an infant had seldom cried, was near tears. And you don't trust me? What reason have you given us to trust you? What cause have I given you for distrust? The thin lips curled slightly. Suddenly, Charles Wallace darted forward and hit the man as hard as he could, which was fairly hard, as he had had a good deal of coaching from the twins. Charles! Meg screamed. The men in dark smocks moved smoothly but with swiftness to Charles. The man in the chair casually raised one finger, and the men dropped back. "Hold it," Calvin whispered, and together he and Meg darted forward and grabbed Charles Wallace, pulling him back from the platform. The man gave a wince, and the thought of his voice was a little breathless, as though Charles Wallace's punch had succeeded in winding him. "May I ask why you did that?" "Because you aren't you," Charles Wallace said. "I'm not sure what you are, but you," he pointed to the man on the chair, "aren't what's talking to us. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I didn't think you were real. I thought perhaps you were a robot because I don't feel anything coming directly from you. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but it's coming through you. It isn't you." "Pretty smart, aren't you?" the thought asked, and Meg had an uncomfortable feeling that she detected a snarl. "It's not that I'm smart," Charles Wallace said, and again Meg could feel the palm of his hand sweating inside hers. "Try to find out who I am, then," the thought probed. "I have been trying," Charles Wallace said, his voice high and troubled. "Look into my eyes. Look deep within them, and I will tell you." Charles Wallace looked quickly at Meg and Calvin, then said as though to himself, "I have to," and focused his clear blue eyes on the red ones of the man in the chair. Meg looked not at the man, but at her brother. After a moment, it seemed that his eyes were no longer focusing. The pupils grew smaller and smaller, as though he were looking into an intensely bright light, until they seemed to close entirely, until his eyes were nothing but an opaque blue. He slipped his hands out of Meg's and Calvin's and started walking slowly toward the man on the chair. "No!" Meg screamed. "No!" But Charles Wallace continued his slow walk forward, and she knew that he had not heard her. "No!" she screamed again and ran after him. With her inefficient flying tackle, she landed on him. She was so much larger than he that he fell sprawling, hitting his head a sharp crack against the marble floor. She knelt by him, sobbing. After a moment of lying there as though he had been knocked out by the blow, he opened his eyes, shook his head, and sat up. Slowly, the pupils of his eyes dilated until they were back to normal, and the blood came back to his white cheeks. The man on the chair spoke directly into Meg's mind, and now there was a distinct menace to the words. "I am not pleased," he said to her. "I could very easily lose patience with you, and that, for your information, young lady, would not be good for your father. If you have the slightest desire to see your father again, you had better cooperate."
All right. Let's go to the questions. So there are 6 questions. The first one says, what is most likely the author's intent by not stating which character is saying the following line from the text? Once 10 is 10, once 11 is 11, once 12 is 12. So why do you think the author did not tell us who was saying that? A, to create mystery since the voice is speaking the words inside Meg's head. B, to illustrate to the reader which of the children knows their times tables. C, to emphasize the importance of the number words being said. Or D, to create the illusion that the line is being said by Charles. So let's think about first, which ones could we eliminate here? So if we go through A, B, C, and D, I don't think it's important that we need to know if the children know their times tables, because that's not really the focus of this passage. So I think we could eliminate B, right? C, to emphasize the importance of the number words being said, are the numbers themselves really that important? It does emphasize it because it's repetitive, but is that, are those important? Or is it D, to create the illusion that the line is being said by Charles? Or A, to create mystery since the voice is speaking the words inside Meg's head? So if we go back to the beginning between A and D, let's read the beginning where it says that. Once 10 is 10, once 11 is 11, once 12 is 12. The number words pounded insistently against Meg's brain. They seemed to be boring their way into her skull. Twice 1 is 2, twice 2 is 4, twice 3 is 6. Calvin's voice came out in an angry shout. Okay, so what do you think between A, to create mystery since the voice is speaking the words inside Meg's head, or D, to create the illusion that the line is being said by Charles? Do you think that Charles is saying this? Do you think that Meg is saying this? Is it inside of her head, or is it Calvin? I want you guys to choose your best answer on this one. Okay? So what do you think the intent is by not stating which character is saying this? What are they trying to create? They're trying to create what? Number 2, what is most closely the meaning of obliquely as it is used in the following passage of the text? She tried looking at the mouth, at the thin, almost colorless lips, and this was more possible, even though she had to look obliquely, so that she was not sure exactly what the face really looked like, whether it was young or old, cruel or kind, human or alien, straight ahead, with suspicion, at an angle, or heroically. Now, heroically, I don't think really fits with the context of this, right? She's not going to look at someone heroically. So think about straight ahead, with suspicion, or at an angle. Even though she had to look obliquely so that she was not sure exactly what the face really looked like. So what do you think it means if she can't fully see the face? Obliquely. So she can't fully see the face. Now, if I look up obliquely in the dictionary, oblique means neither parallel nor at a right angle. So it means like a slanted. You're like at a slant. So she can't see the face fully. She's kind of looking at a slant. So what would be another word that says she's looking at a slant so that she can't fully see the face? All right, choose your best choice on that one. Number 3, what mainly do the following lines from the text reveal about the red-eyed man? And by the way, my children, he continued blandly, you don't need to vocalize verbally with me, you know. I can understand you quite as well as you can understand me. So he says you don't have to vocalize, right? You don't have to say it out loud. I can understand you even though you don't say it out loud. He's trying to make them feel more comfortable. He does not speak their language. He can read their minds, or he would like to have a conversation with them. Now, when we read this passage, do we get the sense that he's trying to make them more comfortable? Is not the sense that I got. I got the sense that something bad is going on, right? Something uncomfortable is happening. I don't feel that he's trying to make them more comfortable at all. So I think A, we could eliminate. B, he does not speak their language. That is not true because he is speaking with them. So between C and D, can he read their mind, or would he like to have a conversation with them? Which one makes more sense? Number 4, which of the following words best describes how the red-eyed man is feeling toward Meg at the end of the text? A, delighted, B, threatened, C, terrified, or D, flattered? Let's read the end. The man on the chair spoke directly into Meg's mind, and now there was a distinct menace, meaning like evilness, something bad to the words. I am not pleased, he said to her. I could very easily lose patience with you, and that, for your information, young lady, would not be good for your father. So she's doing what? Is he delighting with Meg, being delighted with Meg? Is he threatening her? Is he terrified? Is he flattered, meaning like she's flattering him? Which of those would make the most sense? Number 5, what mainly do the following lines reveal about Charles Wallace? Charles Wallace looked quickly at Meg and Calvin, then said, as though to himself, I have too, and focused his clear blue eyes on the red ones of the man in the chair. Meg looked not at the man, but at her brother. After a moment, it seemed that his eyes were no longer focusing. The pupils grew smaller and smaller, as though he were looking into an intensely bright light, until they seemed to close entirely, until his eyes were nothing but an opaque blue. So, what does this reveal about Charles Wallace? A. Charles Wallace feels a sense of duty. B. Charles Wallace doesn't take danger seriously. C. Charles Wallace values Meg and Calvin more than himself. Or D. Charles Wallace has a death wish. So let's see. Charles Wallace looked quickly at Meg and Calvin, then said, as though to himself, I have to, and focused his clear blue eyes on the red ones of the man in the chair. So that words, I have to. What does that mean? And he focused his clear blue eyes on the red ones of the man in the chair. Meg looked not at the man, but at his brother. At her brother. After a moment, it seemed that his eyes were no longer focusing. The pupils grew smaller and smaller, as though he were looking into intensely bright light, until they seemed to close entirely, until his eyes were nothing but an opaque blue. So basically, Charles Wallace is sacrificing himself for Meg and Calvin, and he's like giving himself up to this red man by like looking into his eyes, and his eyes go from being like they basically change because he's being taken over by the red man. So I don't think that it's B. Charles Wallace doesn't take danger seriously. So if we eliminate B between A, C, and D, either he has a sense of duty, he values Meg and Calvin more than himself, or D, Charles Wallace has a death wish. What can we mainly understand about him from this? All right, and then lastly, which of the following phrases best supports the answer to question 5? A, focused his clear blue eyes on the red ones of the man in the chair. Meg looked not at the man, but at her brother. Or B, Meg looked not at the man, but at her brother. C, Charles Wallace looked quickly at Meg and Calvin, then said, as though to himself, I have to. Or D, the pupils grew smaller and smaller, as though he were looking into an intensely bright light, until they seemed to close entirely, until his eyes were nothing but an opaque blue. So think about which of those supports your answer in question 5. Then you will have to go to the StudySync TV, and I would say watch this on your own, and then you can click Submit Assignment. Okay? All right, so that's the StudySync for today. Just do your best on it, and good luck.